Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Friday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and today I'm going to be talking about the playoffs and providing a quick update on the managerial search situation, which really hasn't changed very much since my last video, but I'm going to touch on that. And I also want to chat a bit about at least the starting point in framing up what the roster might start looking like next year, and sort of previewing what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks in looking at the 2018 team. Let's start by talking about the playoffs. Last night, the National League pennant was won by the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers crushed the Cubs last night. 11-1 was the final score. Kike Hernandez, who would have thought he would have been the star of the last game of the National League Championship Series. Kike Hernandez had 7 RBIs. He had 3 home runs, including a grand slam. Good for him. The kid was elated. One of those very rare playoff hero type stories, and this will be one of those that's going to go down in history. He'll be a trivia question forever, and it's awesome for him, and it's awesome for the Dodgers. And look, I mean, the Dodgers, they go to the playoffs all the time, but they haven't been to the World Series since 1988, so it's been 29 years for the Dodgers. And like I said, good for them. I mean, this is a team that all season long has been the best team in baseball, almost like neck and neck for the entire season with the Houston Astros. And I'll talk about the Astros in a second, but the Dodgers will represent the National League, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. The Dodgers were the team that was there all year long. And, as Mets fans, we do have something of a connection to the Dodgers. Not only the fact that the Dodgers really were like one of the parents of the New York Mets as we know them now. The Dodgers from originally from Brooklyn, of course, and I guess they'll be the dad, and the mom was the New York Giants. So the blue met the orange, and of course that's how the Metropolitans were born in 1962. But anyhow, there's that connection back to Brooklyn. But the other connection is 2 players that are on the Dodgers. One of whom is Justin Turner, who has, as playoff superstars are concerned, has rocketed himself to the tippy top of the list of best playoff performers in literally the history of the game. I think he now owns the highest on-base percentage for any player with a minimum of 100 plate appearances. I think his on-base percentage is something in the neighborhood of 490. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And Justin Turner, the role player, the fun guy who was a utility infielder for the Mets a few years back, has blossomed into a bona fide superstar in baseball. And when you look at him, the immediate reaction is to sort of dislike him, at least for me. The fact that he didn't do any of these things when he was a Met, you just sort of like, why are you doing this now, and why didn't you do it with the Mets? But the reality of the situation is the Mets never gave him the opportunity to be the superstar that he is, and he's a superstar, period. So I find myself rooting for Justin Turner and his awful beard, which he absolutely needs to shave. I don't understand it, but whatever. Good for Turner, good for him, and of course his teammate Curtis Granderson, one of the most beloved figures in all of baseball. Of course, he was with the Mets. We traded him to the Dodgers. We got a bag of balls for him, but it doesn't matter. Granderson's with the Dodgers. Granderson trumps the Chase Utley experience. So Granderson is so fantastic and so great, it makes it okay to root for a team that has literally public enemy number 1, Chase Utley, on it. So at this point in time, I'm rooting for the Dodgers. But heading into tonight's Game 6 of the ALCS, back to Houston, with the Astros unbelievably now trailing 3-2 after getting out to a 2-0 lead in the ALCS. The Astros and the Yankees are going to play tonight, and there were a couple of funny pieces like, will the Yankees ever lose again? It's like, obviously yes, they will, but they are on some kind of a run right now, and I don't know that the Astros are in position to win this series. They're going to have Verlander tonight, who's going to be tasked with following up on one of the greatest pitching performances ever in baseball playoff history. He's going to need to be as good tonight because the Yankees are rolling, and the only way the Astros win is if Verlander is as good as he was before. Because if the Astros have to dip into their bullpen, that has absolutely been the Achilles heel for that team in the playoffs. So on the polar opposite end of that, the Yankees pitching staff has been unbelievable. They've been so good in the playoffs. Their bullpen has been practically lights out, with the exception of Chad Green giving up that grand slam a few games ago. The Yankees bullpen is just really, really, really good. And so the Astros have a really tall task ahead of them. They have got to somehow get to Severino early tonight. It's the only way the Yankees are going to win. The Astros are going to win, excuse me. So, as it shakes out right now, the Dodgers are awaiting their AL opponent in the World Series. We'll see who it's going to be. If it's the Yankees, I am 1,000,000% rooting for the Dodgers. Sorry, Yankee fans, but you've won enough. If it's the Astros, I am tough. It's going to be tough for me to root against them because they are a fun team. They're fun to watch. They're fun to root for. And the Astros as a franchise have never won a World Series. So I am going to root for the Astros if they end up winning the AL pennant. But as I said, it's a long shot right now for them to do that. So real quick on the managerial side, I want to make a few quick comments to rebut some things that I've heard over the last few days. I made a comment earlier in the week about Kevin Long being the number one candidate right now, being, quote, the Mets guy. That's who they seem to want. And I made a comment about the fact that it feels as though they're making that statement now so that when everybody else declines to accept the position and Kevin Long ends up being the default manager, the Mets have an out and they can say, that's who we wanted from the beginning. Well, on that same line, there were some comments about Brad Ausmus turning down the opportunity to interview with the Mets, and there were also some comments about Ventura declining to interview. And I think it's important to distinguish the fact that these two guys didn't say, I don't want to interview with the Mets. We have to be very clear about that. They said, Ausmus said, I want to manage the Red Sox. I don't want to manage anybody else. And so I guess we can almost say thanks for not wasting our time. And, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Ausmus has his goal. That's where he wants to be. The Red Sox right now seem to be having their number one candidate for their job being Alex Cora. So what it means for Ausmus is if he doesn't get the job in Boston, he's not going to manage. And that's okay. And that's not a bad thing for the Mets. It's not like a black eye on the Mets because he didn't accept that interview. As far as Ventura goes, he didn't interview with anybody. He flat out said, I don't want to manage. I'm going to take some time off, basically. And there's nothing wrong with that either. These guys aren't spurning the Mets. They aren't going out and interviewing with other teams and ignoring the Mets. So I want to just make that clear. Although I sort of feel as though the Mets are setting up to have Kevin Long be the guy right now. I'm still in favor of Joe McEwing out of all of them, but we'll leave it at that for now. So I just wanted to throw that out about the managerial situation and search. I was going to talk a little bit about the team's construction for next year, but I realized that I've been rambling for well over 6 minutes now, so I'm going to end this a little early. Next week, when the World Series is underway, I'll address some of the thoughts I have for going forward for 2018 and how I'm going to handle the off season and how I'm going to talk about it on the show. So thanks for watching. If you're not already following me on Twitter, please do so at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets. And for tonight, let's go Astros, and let's stretch the ALCS into 7 games, and let's make it interesting. Let's put our backs against the wall and make it a fun 7-game series. So that'll wrap it up. Thanks again, and again, let's go Mets.